I will explain him. And I'm very angry of his attitude.
All right, let's go to cricket. Lightning and rain washed out third and final women's T20 international between South Africa and Ireland. Willamore Park last night. No ball was made. And the Proteas had already wrapped up the series in emphatic style with wins in Cape Town and Paarl. Take it to nil. And finally, double Olympic and world champion Remco Evenepoel says he will share leadership duties with teammate Florian Lipowitz next year's Tour de France. Evenepoel finished third in 2024 and abandoned this year's tour. Remco will skip the Giro d'Italia to focus entirely on France. After sport, we'll cycle back to the podium, top of the hour. I'm Zaikan.
Good morning. I'm Anne Musa. In the headlines, the family of a Brakpan man whose body was pulled from a dam 3 years ago has approached lobby group AfriForum in a bid to seek justice. Emmanuel Mbense died after a group of Ukuruleni Metro Police, SAPS, and private officers allegedly tortured him in 2022. Basic Education Minister Siviwe Gagobe will hold an urgent media briefing today following the detection of a breach during the marking of the 2025 National Senior Certificate examinations. The department says the breach was detected through its internal monitoring and oversight systems. And the M23 rebels in the east of the Democratic Republic of Congo say they are now in full control of the city of Uvira. It's the last government-held settlement in South Kivu province. I'll have details on these and other stories at 7.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Very good morning. Some slightly better news reaching us from KZN, although the situation overall not great. They've managed to open some lanes to get you past the scene between Cliffdale and Hammersdale, but it is an enormous backlog of traffic from that crash scene before Hammersdale all the way down to Shongweni. It is going to take a while to normalise. You'll probably get some of the trucks that are stuck in that queue broken down in the roadwork section. It is a mess. So if you're heading up towards the Pietermaritzburg side from Durban, just be aware of that. You'll want to offer around Paradise Valley, Richmond Road, or Shongweni and get yourself onto the old road. And of course, if you are taking the old road going through as far as the Cato Ridge area, there are those big roadworks on the R103 just south of Cato Ridge. So might be a bit of waiting around there, but still, it will be a quicker option this morning, the old road rather than the N3. We'll keep you up to date with developments around that. It's also wet across parts of Durban and inland KZN, so drive carefully, please. Not a bad start to proceedings this morning across Gauteng. From today, we will notice volumes sort of drop off dramatically, and we are sort of seeing that in just a sort of look at the live map. It looks a lot easier than what you normally would expect to find. Cape Town, a couple of issues there. One is a crash on the M1 inbound at Monte Vista, pedestrian hit there. That's pushing a traffic queue right back into Belleville. That's heavy. The N7 North has got an unusual queue as well for motorists moving up through Goodwood. There's some pressure from Four Trekker Road to France Conradi. France Conradi coming into the N7 out of Goodwood's pretty heavy as well. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The business update on SAFM.
Good morning to you, Ndauling. For the first update, let's start in the United States. The Fed has made its move, and it's a downward one.
That's right, Silas. Christmas came early for Americans as the Fed delivered widely expected cut, lowering its benchmark interest rate by 25 basis points to a range of 3.5 to 3.75%. But the festive feeling hit a dose of reality with the decision exposing a split on the committee, defending vote toughest division since 2019. Basically, it was a focus cut and a clear warning that further cuts will be much harder to secure. Chair Jerome Powell said he is now well positioned to wait and see, stressing that policymakers need stronger evidence of cooling inflation before moving again. Fresh projections show only two more cuts expected over the next years, highlighting deep disagreements inside the Fed. In a move to ease funding pressures, the central bank will restart treasury purchases as Powell enters the final stretch of the
So let's talk about what's happening at SpaceX. There's an IPO that is in the offing and it's in the pipeline. Tell me a bit more about it.
So the aerospace company founded by Elon Musk for developing reusable rockets and Starlink satellites is preparing for a public listing next year. A source familiar with the matter says the company is targeting more than $25 billion in IPO proceeds with a potential valuation of over $1 billion. SpaceX has begun initial discussions with banks, and the listing could take place around June or July next year. Musk previously said he would only consider Starlink once its revenue growth became steeper than predicted. Now, the space, its IPO is completed next year, offering would join Saudi Aramco as one of the few IPOs to debut above $1 billion mark. Aramco listed in 2019, valued at $1.7 trillion. Now, Bloomberg IPO funds will support the development of space-based data centers, including purchases. Bloomberg further added that forecast SpaceX revenue of $15 billion this year, rising to 22 to $24 billion, driven largely by proceeds from Starlink.
All right, let's talk about the markets. Tell me how we closed yesterday and how we are looking this morning in those markets that have now started trading.
Stateside, US the after the Fed's final rate cut of the year bolstered case for early start to the Standard Poor's rally. S&P 500 closed 0.7% higher, trading near record levels. Momentum also picked up here at home as gold trended higher ahead of the Fed's rate decision, posting the fourth day, which closed 0.8 to the good. Then over in currency moves, the rand is back in the 17 rand mark, benefiting from global upbeat sentiment and positive retail sales figures, trading at 16.98 per hour. Shipping focused to commodities, slight dip in oil, but it's still near yesterday's level at 65.60, rather just below $2 a barrel. Lastly, in Asia, markets in negative territory this morning. Investors approaching equity markets caution despite today's positive monetary policy.
All right, Ntauling, thank you for that. We'll talk to you again just after 7:30 here on the morning brief.
Africa Update on SAFM.
And of course, as always, for that, we turn to Advocate Sipho Mantula. Raz, good morning. Let's start with this. It looked like a coup that was locked and loaded, almost a done deal, but the way that it has turned around, the dramatic fashion in which it has turned around in Benin.
Reflection morning to and Jumbo Africa. Just before the two last, I heard you talk about fatigue. You see, Africa update report for 7 years. I didn't know they were.
You don't know the year-end
we don't
fatigue.
know that. No, we don't know that.
Doesn't
Our
exist.
African year started in September, so I'm in the fourth month. So I
see.
don't know what is the fatigue. But coming back to Benin, to Lome now, remember Togo is gravitate towards the Sahel. Now they will be obvious, the ones who will harbor Western and colonial. Colonial the one who appeared in Benin that they are not present on. Now, Benin, as you know, that's once you have a fugitive, you have a coupist who is in exile, you will ask for extradition. That's what the Beninese government have, the government of Togo, to extradite this fugitive soldiers. I'm not sure whether Togo sent to that request. Yesterday, we touched on the Tagabandela assisting Benin in terms of dealing with this military coup that happened in Benin. But like I said to you now, it appears the fugitive just hiding in a neighboring country, Togo, the capital city called Lome.
Tell me why Ghana is unhappy and upset about the way that its citizens, some of its citizens, were treated at the Ben Gurion International Airport in Israel.
Thulasizwe, this is not ordinary citizens. They were members of parliament, and that shows the hypocrisy of racial profiling in our international airports. This come in the wave of the international cybersecurity conference that is in Tel Aviv. Now, Thulasizwe, they were being treated with a traumatic experience, humiliated. But the government of Ghana says, "But we will call your ambassador to Accra to come and explain." Because remember, Ghana and Israel have a diplomatic since 19. Now, those MP scholars were sent back home to Ghana. So they were treated in this manner by the Israeli immigration officers, or you can say intelligence officers, with what they have shown them to us. Black folks never else operate to us over the colonizer, whatever you want, name after name.
Mm.
But the Canadians, but they are going with the of Inca.
And it's the 10th anniversary of the Day of Genocide Prevention and Commemoration. Tell me a bit more about that. That's happening at the UN General Assembly, yeah?
To the specific in the UN General Assembly this week, you look at the International Human Rights Day yesterday, but the day before they look at it. But they have to go into the 10th anniversary where they look at this time side and the prevention of this crime. And most of us will recall the ICJ. But I'll always say beyond Gaza, what about Rwanda? What about all genocides that have happened in the continent? So this meeting was important that UN special advisor on this crime called genocide killers was still saying that it's an unfinished work in countering ideologies and acts of genocide. And this was very clear to us because it is that even the media will report how they played into the lens of diplomatic engagement in Rwanda, how they labeled the Rwanda genocide, playing with names around it as a civil war. And the issues of racism, white supremacy, to have always been, I can say, ceremonially been given names, but the issue of genocide convention in the UN, I think that's why South Africa brought the case at the UN to say we need to review this. But the UN, for the high level, can meet with this reflect
Yeah.
on how to combat genocide. And me and you, we've been talking about the coup, we've been talking about genocide that have been
Yeah.
in the globe, in the need for diplomats, people,
Yeah, yeah, and there have been some serious incidents that have happened, especially in the conflicts that are less pronounced in terms of international coverage. The Al Fasher, incidents that happened about a month ago or so. Those, I wonder whether they will settle along the question of war crimes, crimes against humanity, and even genocide when the dust settles. Lastly, Sipo, 11 December 1961. That's your historical archive. Tell me what happened on this day.
So I'm looking at 1961 and 2010. 1961, yesterday I spoke about him, but today I thought today's a lecture on after acceptance of the Nobel Peace Prize. I think it's Albert Einstein. Lecture was entitled Africa and Freedom. It was 54 years ago. Others will say the road beyond Oslo. And in that, I think what was important was to say this award is not for him alone. It's not for South Africa, but it's for the continent. And he raises the issue of racial conflict in Africa. What was facing Africa during that time? I think that also have to mention the Savannah massacre. So it was an important seminal acceptance by the Albert Tuli when he was in Oslo. Remember, he was only given a 10-day passport. His ban was lifted just for that to go and receive Nobel Peace Prize during that time. 2013, I've said it before, plus I was in Madagascar and Antananarivo during that time, but former President Nelson Mandela, the late, it was during his passing, you'll recall that they have to take his body for viewing by the public for 3 days. Plus, it was at the state administration building, the union building, transported by the military um, for us to be now be viewed by the public pillars for 3 days. It has many places, Alpha the Mandela Drive, the Freedom Park. It was an important moment in our history. It was raining, if I still recall, because even in Ghana, where I had access to countries before, people always watch what was happening
Yeah,
on this day,
yeah,
on the 11th of December. A
yeah,
very
yeah,
sober day. We knew what happened. Public protectors told us with the
yeah,
money that was, but what us when and past,
Mm.
what are the military rituals that have been given to us. This was an issue.
Absolutely, Sipo. It was quite a moment. I mean, the thousands of people that streamed to just walk, file past. It was, and for many people, it was just a moment, really, just filing past as his body lay in state. And you're absolutely right. On the last day, just minutes as they were about to move that casket, there was a major storm. All of us had to scramble and run and find shelter around the union buildings. Sipo, thank you for that. That's Sipo Mantula with your Africa update for this morning.
If your bank makes you wait for business hours to call them, then wait on hold during those business hours. You should take a second to ask why they even have your business. Join Discovery Bank to have SA's best bank for client service, available 24/7 for service exactly like no other bank. Discovery Bank is a licensed FSP and Ask Africa's Best Banking Service winner.
This week on BBC Primetime, watching TV could make you a winner. It's the BBC Primetime Watch and Win competition. Just tune into your BBC Primetime shows, answer a few simple questions on S3's TikTok account, and you could walk away with awesome prizes. From thrilling dramas to jaw-dropping reality shows, the more you watch, the more chances you have to win. Watch, answer, win. Only on BBC Primetime. Airs weeknights 9 to 11 p.m. on S3. Your couch just became the best seat in the game.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic. This is Thulasizwe Simelane on the morning brief.
It's the end of the year, and many South Africans who use stokvels to save during the year will be cashing in on their savings, getting a few bob in their bank accounts just in time for the festive season. But what's the impact, if any, of that once off lump sum hitting a SASSA grant recipient's account? Will it change their income profile, perhaps render them ineligible for continued social grant support? That's what one of our callers raised yesterday and was wondering about. Take a listen before we take the conversation forward, as we promised we would.
Morning to us. Can you please, Joseph, can you ask Tessa to come and explain themselves, please? The grandmas are very sad because now they got paid themselves into the savings account and things like that for a lump sum. Next month, the SASSA grant, old age grant won't be paid into. It's causing unnecessary stress. Where do they grandmas to receive their stockpile monies via? Which platform? Was it carry cash around? I mean, what's the point? Can they please come and explain themselves? Thank you. Nomthandazo in Cape Town.
Namtandazo, that was yesterday. So we pick up the conversation as we said we would with Paseka Letsatsi of the South African Social Security Agency. Good morning to you, Paseka, and thank you for your time. I don't want to add anything or adulterate the question that has been posed by Nomtandazo. What is the answer?
Good morning, Tulas, and thanks for having me. Answer is that there is no such a thing. It doesn't exist. Obviously, someone is spreading false rumors about the situation. The last time we did this, so the August got their money in December. There is absolutely no way in which they planned. But in this case, we would have asked that get the details of the affected individual so that we can then be able to check. But the way the lady explained is that someone was spreading a rumor.
So when you say the last time you did the review was in August, does that matter though when you last did the review in the context of at the next review, would this lump sum, if someone got a lump sum from their savings in the stokvel and it went into their account, would that matter in terms of their income profile and perhaps affect how you view them as a beneficiary of a SASSA grant?
Remember, Tulas, when there's money which comes into your account, we as the organization don't know where it comes from. You will know and if I trend the money which comes into your account, then be able to be in contact with you. You would have to come and explain the reason why there's money which is going into your account. It's so easy, but we will not just abruptly stop the money from coming into your account, or we will not just and that would be illegal. We will not do it like that. Social grant beneficiaries, they would just have to send themselves to pay. Now, make such a move against you.
But does this apply this caveat about whether or not there's money flowing in? I would have thought that once you reach that pensionable age and you now qualify for a social security grant, I wouldn't have thought that it matters that once in a while you get some money, perhaps from your children, your grandchildren supporting you and sending you money. Does it matter?
It does matter.
Oh,
Plus,
okay.
we have a case of a person who is getting a social grant in this school grant, and the department that is collecting money. It does matter. It's not permanent. We take it means instance will explain that you shouldn't be getting amount of particular above a certain threshold. So it matters a lot that person is getting money or has got a certain asset to themselves.
So the last time, I think when that judgment came out around the your means test and the way you apply it and the various applicability criteria for the social relief of distress grant, part of the criticism then was you are not able to distinguish between someone getting a once-off payment, perhaps their grandchild has just remembered them and thought, hey, let me send money to grandma or grandpa this month. You were not able to distinguish between that and income. You talked about a trend. How many instances of payments into someone's account constitute a trend significant enough for you to say, hang on, come talk to us. You seem to have an income.
It's different in this instance. The tool that we talk about your mainstream your grant 370. 370 we do the evaluation or the verification every month. So it differs from mainstream social grant. The mainstream social grant would take a plan that for the first 8 months has been a come in the account of the plus. With regard to the 370, we do the verification process every month. If there is income on the not on the mainstream social grant, would then be able to stop it and you have to explain or you have to make the following month. Then income plus. Remember from who we are as an organization, we do not know, but all that you see is that there is some sort of money that is what that is flowing into your account. It is on the incumbent or it is upon the who's getting social grant to honest and explain to the organization that money was deposited in my account where my granddaughter was deposited in my account. Imagine you would not know as an organization who did the deposit into this account.
So, Pasaka, there are one or two voice notes that are coming in that are talking to the conversation that you and I are having. So, if you don't mind, just hang in there. Let me play one or two of those.
Plus, can you please ask Pasega to explain? So we call you to come and explain source of that income. What does he mean exactly by that? Because my understanding is that they stop payment automatically. Then they expect the suspend go to the SASSA office after stopping the payment. Okay, thank you, Cholas.
Good morning, Pratulas Mbongo Shundisa here. Pratulas, basically chat is lying. If I can send like my sister 500 rand and then she's getting SRT grant, when they pay that SRT grant, they won't pay her. They will say alternative income. He is lying.
Morning to us. This guy is lying. Even me, I received 350. Now I'm not receiving 350 because of I have to deposit for my son. He's in college. I deposit R300. They say I've got a source of income. This
Paseka?
is unfair. Our
Pas-
government is so
Pa-
thank
yeah, and Paseka, there are many of those messages and sentiments. Let me read a message very quickly. Tulas, my mother received a bit of a lump sum payment from my late younger brother's estate, and immediately her old age grant was suspended. She is still unsuccessfully fighting the system. So many people are saying they have had a different experience from what you described when you were talking about we will call you and say come and explain the experience, as you can hear many people being blunt and saying that you are lying. What happens is that you actually stop the grant immediately. You don't call in people to come and explain.
No, thanks, Pulas. Look, I think we may have to have more time so that I can explain properly to the public. One, there is absolutely no way, and I think I must be granted a liar if I'm lying. One, we will never operate this of a social fund. When we experience a trend, we will take example. If people get paid on the third, we'll delay payment date. They should send it signal to an individual. But we have numbers of individuals, we have their address. Hence, we say, if you change address or you change your cell number, please inform us so that we can then be able to be in touch. That's the first one. The mainstream social plan. With regard to the 320, there's a threshold. And Tulas, you can hit my head on this one. You can't deposit 300 rand and stop the payment of the grant immediately. It's not true. Because I'm a government official, I can't say very badly. I have to be careful in how I mention it. But the threshold for a 370 is 740. So you can't deposit 500 rand if the grant was stopped. It cannot be. However, Tulas, I want to appeal to you that we need to agree to have more time for me to come and explain so that people can be informed.
Well, we have a bit of time, Paseka, because this is an important issue as people are raising it, and I don't think we'll ever have more time than we do now in terms of having this conversation. So, what's the difference between delaying a payment and actually stopping a payment? Because if you're saying delaying a payment, that suggests that whether or not this person has come through to explain the money that has come into their account, you will delay their payment, and then 4 days after you've paid other grant recipients, they will then receive their payment. And in your words, that's a signal to that person to say, come and get your money. But many of the people who are sending voice notes are saying it is not a delay, it is a stop of the payment.
Okay. Plus, what I want us to do so that we don't confuse the listeners, we must not slap the president mainstream social plan
Sure.
when we explain this. When it comes to the mainstream social plan, is that when we see trend in income in your account, we will send an SMS or we'll send a WhatsApp message. We'll send a letter. In most cases, people do not necessarily respond to a letter or an SMS said. Once we realize that there is no response to our letter or two, is that what we simply do, we delay the payment after 3 months. We delay it this second month, we delay it with 3 days. Third month, we do the same. In this instance, we are sending a signal because we can't get hold of an individual, just one individual that we have seen change in terms of the income. On the 20 upheld law, we upheld is the regulation that must be a minimum amount in terms of what we get. To last on the 20, it cannot be true that a person deposited 300 rand for their daughter or for their
Well,
niece.
Paseka, it's interesting you use that example of a daughter. I'm sitting with a colleague in studio right now who is telling me that he sent 400 rand to his daughter who is unemployed, who's receiving the SRD grant, sent 400 rand for her to pay for Wi-Fi, and immediately the SRD grant was stopped. And that's well under the threshold that you're talking about, 740 rand.
What we need to do to us, we once and for all, the offline can give me the information, make decision, first me on different class. I'll be back on here tomorrow to explain. I'll
Sure.
give you the result.
That's fine. I appreciate that. But I'm saying to you, Paseka, that's one of the many experiences that in this short conversation that you and I have had of various people who are saying, but I've had this experience, but I've had this experience. And that tells you that perhaps it's broader than just my colleague that I just mentioned now.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's what I'm saying. To last offline, give me the details. I'll make an investigation. Continue.
All right. Paseka, I've got to thank you for your time and for responding promptly when we came knocking following that voice note that we received yesterday. That's Paseka Letsatsi, spokesperson for the South African Social Security Agency. Let's go to N Musa on standby with the latest news.
Outsurance is in the business of saving you money on your car insurance premium. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
In our top stories, Brakpan family seeks justice following revelations at Madlanga Commission and an urgent briefing following matric exam marking breach. Good morning. The family of a man who officials from the Ekurhuleni Metro Police, the SAPS, and a private security company allegedly tortured to death has approached lobby group AfriForum in a bid to seek justice. Emmanuel Mbense's body was dumped in a dam following the alleged incident in April 2022. Witness D. Marius van der Merwe, who was shot dead outside his Brakpan home last Friday, testified before the Madlanga Commission that he had been instructed to dump Mbense's body in the dam. Head of AfriForum's private prosecution unit, Perry Bateman.
The director of the Independent Police Investigating Directorate. And we have asked for, first off, a comprehensive update on where the case stands at the moment, because the family of Emmanuel Ndenze has been asking for answers for nearly 3 years. And they kept being told by the police and IPID that we're still investigating and arrests are imminent. Well, we know this hasn't happened. So we're asking for that comprehensive update. We know from the evidence of Mr. van der Merwe admitted to being part of the torture. He admitted to being there when a man was murdered, and he admitted to dumping somebody's body in a dam. Well, we want answers. So do the family.
Basic Education Minister Siviwe Hwagube will hold an urgent media briefing today following the detection of a breach during the marking process of the 2025 National Senior Certificate examinations. The department says the breach was detected through its internal monitoring and oversight systems. Hwagube will outline her department's immediate interventions to safeguard the integrity and credibility of the 2025 matric results. 19 taxi operators arrested in connection with the ongoing taxi violence in the Malamulele-Giyani route in Limpopo will appear in a local magistrate's court tomorrow. The suspects have been linked to cases of intimidation, robbery and assault. This as rival taxi associations operating between Malamulele and Giyani fight over the route. The violence started in October. Provincial Police spokesperson Thulani Mashaba.
The police also confiscated 2 patrol vehicles belonging to one of the associations as part of the ongoing investigations. Lawlessness will never be tolerated regardless of who is involved. We shall deal decisively with anyone who engages in acts of violence, especially during this festive season when our communities rely heavily on public transport.
The M23 rebels in the east of the Democratic Republic of Congo say they are now in full control of the city of Uvira. It's the last government-held settlement in South Kivu province. In a statement, the Rwanda-based rebels have called on the remaining Congolese soldiers to surrender. Tens of thousands of civilians have fled to Burundi, a few kilometers from Uvira. Patrick Muyaya is the Congolese information minister.
The first thing we are hearing and we are very worried about is the displacement of people. More than 200,000 Congolese people are displaced. The humanitarian situation is catastrophic. a week even after the signature in the peace agreement in Washington. Rwanda using drones and all those military materials against civilians, against houses, against schools.
And finally, US President Donald Trump says fresh talks with Volodymyr Zelensky and all the European leaders on ending the war between Russia and Ukraine are a waste of time. Ukrainian officials say they have sent Washington their proposals, which include revisions to an initial US plan. The BBC's Sean Daly has the details.
Last month, US officials engaged in meetings with Ukrainian and European counterparts in Geneva, prompting further talks between Ukraine and the United States, described by US negotiators as very productive. Now, though, it seems President Trump is frustrated. He told reporters at the White House his allies wanted to hold a meeting in Europe this weekend. He said the US would decide whether to attend. He said he did not want to be wasting time.
Recapping the top story, the family of a man who officials from the Ekurhuleni Metro Police, the SAPS, and a private security company allegedly tortured to death has approached lobby group AfriForum in a bid to seek justice. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. You could spend 10 minutes on social media or get a 10-minute quote from Outsurance that could save you thousands on your car insurance. For his 2024 GWMP series, 54-year-old Amos now pays only 1,004 Rand a month. And for his 2024 Toyota Urban Cruiser, 55-year-old Andre pays just 776 Rand a month. Ready to get more out of your car insurance? SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Outsurance, licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
Very good morning to you in your SFM sports headlines. It's cricket. The Proteas women shift their focus to the ODI series after last night's third T20 against Ireland was abandoned without a ball being bowled. And in soccer, Bafana coach Hugo Bruce lashing out at defender Mbekezeli Mbokazi for arriving late. Have the details just before 7:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Major delays continue for motorists driving between Durban and Pietermaritzburg. The earlier truck crash up at Hammersdale blocked the road. That's now been replaced by stationary truckers. We thought might happen when you get these big backlogs of traffic. Inevitably, trucks break down. So the net result from Shongweni up to Cliffdale on your way to PMB, it stays heavy. Durban's N2 north from the M7 up towards the Westwood Mall is slow, and then a breakdown before Umhlanga. So an additional delay on your way towards the airport this morning. The Midrand section looking a little bit easy, you might be expecting. We're into school holidays, and we've got that festive sort of feel about things. So, festive holiday feel. Things just easing off in terms of volumes. Not a bad run today. There is a crash coming out of Benoni through to Boksburg. That collision on the N12 by Atlas Road. And one up through Dipcliff to Uncle Charlie's fairly busy. And Cape Town, the earlier prang on the M1 inbound at Monte Vista is being cleared, but it's left a backlog of traffic coming slowly from Belleville through towards the Sable Road exit. Kuberg Road under a bit of pressure, as well as you line up from Plattercliff Road towards the Bloberg Road junction. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
It's just gone 9 minutes after 7. Welcome to it, the second hour of the morning brief on this Thursday. It is great to be in your company. We are edging ever closer to the end of the year. And of course, the big days as we call them, are here. A bit later on in this hour, we'll be talking about that phenomenon and the phenomenon of year-end fatigue. There's a colleague who shall remain nameless, one of the producers, he knows himself, who started having year-end fatigue in June this year. By process of elimination, it is not Stanza. So it is a male colleague, male producer, as I say, who shall remain nameless, and his name means comfort. His Zulu name means comforter, okay? Thank you. For fear of retribution, I shall not name this colleague. Anyway, So that's the story we'll get to at about 7:45 this morning. Year-end fatigue. Is it an actual thing? Or are we just being lazy towards the end of the year? But before we get there, we'll talk to MEC of Education in KwaZulu-Natal. No laughing matter there. This is the issue of the 2.5 million rand chemical toilet contract that has been found that it stinks to high heaven in that, in the education department of KwaZulu-Natal. It was awarded in 2020, and now the special tribunal wants the MEC to discipline those 16 officials that were involved in awarding that tender. And immediately after that, another conversation that I'm hoping you will engage me on. Would your social media activity of the last 5 years stand up to official scrutiny? If you had to submit everything that you've done on social media, done and said on social media in the last 5 years, are you confident that you'd come out, what's that they say, cruising nicely on the other end of that scrutiny? And that's because the United States is introducing that system for 42 countries that have a bit of a visa waiver going into the United States. But now they may be required to submit their social media history of the last 5 years for the Customs and Border Protection Agency to scrutinize and see. And perhaps that can be part of the determinants of, do you come into the United States? Are you sure about the things you said in 2021 when you were frustrated and there was a lockdown and all of these things? Anyway, that's where we're going in this half hour. And in fact, in this hour, do call me and be a part of the conversation. 086 000 2032. 086 000 2032. Your WhatsApp voice notes 0614 104 107. Let's get into it. The second hour of the morning brief starts now.
Hi, my name is Kutlwana Masote, your host of Weekend Sundowner Classics every Saturday and Sunday afternoon between the hours of 4 and 7 p.m. exclusively on SAFM. Now, this is where you get your best classical music jams on any radio platform. Join me every Saturday and Sunday afternoon between 4 and 7 p.m. Weekend Sundowner Classics.
You are listening to the Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane.
So let's get into it then. Social media has evolved into a core part of our digital identity, a space where personal views, interests, and interactions leave a permanent footprint. Now, under a new proposal from US authorities, that online footprint could become a determining factor in whether millions of international travelers are allowed to enter the United States. Tourists from visa waiver nations, including the United Kingdom, Ireland, France, Australia, and Japan, may soon be required to submit 5 years of social media history as part of their electronic system for travel authorization ESTA applications. The move forms part of a broader effort by the Trump administration to tighten border security, but critics warn it could infringe on digital rights, slow down travel processes, and further impact US tourism. How game-changing is this proposal in terms of the scrutiny of personal social media activity and posts and its official implications? Let's speak to Emma Sadler, who is a social media law expert. Good morning to you, Emma, and thank you for your time. This whole idea that you submit your 5 years of social media history, is it game-changing in terms of the official consequences of what we do on social media, believing it to be a personal space for self-expression?
Good morning to Thulasizwe. Well, it is a very important change that we're seeing. This really affects the ESTA nations. South Africa isn't one of those ESTA nations. So those are the people who have like a visa waiver. You pay a small amount and you fill in a form online. And now what's going to be required is that you give them all of your phone numbers, all of your email addresses that you've had, and all of your social media accounts that you've had for the previous 5 years. But to be honest, South Africans have already been subjected to this, Thulasizwe, because we know that as South Africans, if we apply for an American visa, we have to list all of our social media accounts. And there was actually even a suggestion recently that not only do you have to list them, you have to go and make them public so that everything that you have posted can be seen by whoever's making the call on whether you get a visa or not. So that's to say, it is an extraordinary move from a country which
Yeah.
appears to be sort of the bastion of free rights in the world, particularly freedom of speech. Um, and I think that it's to me it makes me feel a little unsettled.
Yeah. What would they be looking for, though, Emma?
Mm.
Obviously, social media is a rich source of information, and even investigators. And I learned a couple of months ago that even those who monitor lifestyles of people for purposes of detecting early signs of possible corrupt activity do dabble in that, just occasionally check on people's social media accounts. But in this context, what would they be looking for? What would the United States be interested in?
Mm. Well, I think in this context, it would be certainly anything political. So, any political views, any strong criticisms of various governments. But I think more than that is links to terrorism. And I think that, that there has been a problem, where countries have let people in where they've got very extreme views. And the truth is that social media really is, I think, a very good indicator of who someone is. I can clobber together in the CV that I'm an amazing person, or I can put together a visa saying I've never been involved in anything dodgy in my whole life. But social media really is an extension of that CV. It's your online CV, and I would say in in many instances it's a much more accurate reflection of who somebody is. And you're right, we see these sort of social media audits in all sorts of areas of life. I always say to companies, it's not a question of whether you check somebody out online before you hire them. I think if you don't, you're acting negligently because when that person starts working for the company, their online reputation is inextricably linked with the reputation of the company. And before that person goes out and meets clients or has meetings, or everybody's going to be stalking them. And if the first thing that comes up, and when I say stalking, I mean Facebook stalking,
Yeah.
is going to be that they're a racist drug taker, well, that's a very bad reflection, not just on them, but on your business as well. So I really think that part of this is part of my broader messaging of don't think you're any different in the online world to the real world. For me, reputational consequences are actually much more
Sure.
important than any short-term legal or disciplinary consequences. But it does this particular move that we're talking about in the States, it does smack a little bit of a big brother.
Geez, Emma, though, I mean, 5 years is a long time, isn't it? I don't even remember what I posted in December 2020. And I don't know if some of the views that I held back then, I don't know if I still hold today. So what is the message in terms of managing your brand
Well, I
on
think
social media?
everybody should do a social media cleanup. I think that's part of getting older and wiser. I was inundated with
Yeah.
media requests yesterday about the Australia under 16 social media ban. And part of that is because we're letting children loose on building a digital footprint before their brain is ready and developed and mature enough to make good decisions about what reflects well on them. And we've seen it time and time again where people have, as adults, been fired, been suspended from a professional sporting activity because of stuff they posted online as a teenager. So I think doing a social media cleanup is good. Deleting any inactive accounts that you don't use. Go back if you're particularly worried listening to this as you're driving to work about that pictures from that party that you went to while you were still at university. Go and do a cleanup. There's a great website called justdelete.me that gives you step-by-step instructions on how to delete content. I think don't trust the privacy settings anymore because content, the settings change all the time. So really have a social media footprint that you're proud of. And while we're at it, I think people should also ask AI tools, certainly the main ones, what they know about you. Ask ChatGPT, what do you know about Thulasizwe? And you've got to start keeping an eye on what people are discovering about you before you meet them.
Lastly, Emma, do we expect that more countries will follow suit in terms of leaning in on social media for official decisions such as visa processing?
Yes, I think we're seeing it more and more in all spheres. I think we used to think that was the social media was a different world and that we could speak in our little echo chambers and could say whatever we want to. I think that's changed. And I think that one of the big things here, Ulysses, is that so many people rely on sort of a burner account, a Finsta account, a pseudonym account, to post what they're really thinking. What this requires is that you hand over all of those account names. So we're not just talking about what comes up when you search Emma Sadler and you find my Instagram account and my Facebook account. If I've also got one called
Mickey Mouse 123, where I've been posting all the dodgy stuff, I'm going to have to disclose that. And if I don't disclose it and they discover that I've lied on my visa form, then that really is a reason to decline a visa.
All right, Emma, I've got to thank you for your time and your insights as always. Emma Sadler, social media law expert, speaking to us about, the consequences of your social media activity as laid out in the latest, requirements that have been laid out by the United States. Thank you for that, Emma, as always.
Ashraf Gada on SAFM.
Should South Africa, in terms of your point about looking at things internally, what should we accelerate internally to fix anyway, so that whichever accusations come from wherever, it would be a blunt accusation?
I think we need to stop getting sucked into these arguments. It's part of the Trump strategy. You flood the zone with absurdities, and we spend all of our time defending against nonsense like this, absurdities like this. And then there's a second aspect which I think our government is failing in rather badly is, and I know I'll get into trouble for saying this, but they need to sit down and start talking to AfriForum for solidarity.
Andre Flock is a conflict resolution expert.
The National Pulse, weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m. Thulasizwe Simelane is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio.
Some of the things that Zelma Klibi says. Says we're streaming live because she wants people to see me. I don't know what that is all about. Anyway, let's move on to serious stuff, okay? The Val Dam has continued its gradual decline in water levels this week, dropping to 100.25% on Wednesday after starting the previous week at 103.8%, according to the Department of Water and Sanitation. While still above full capacity, the steady downward trend managed through controlled gate operations raises the possibility that the dam could dip below 100% for the first time since March. Real-time inflow and outflow measurements from the reservoir show that the integrated Vaal River system remains stable as authorities continue adjusting releases in line with inflow conditions. Let's speak to Wisani Mabasa, who is spokesperson for the Department of Water and Sanitation. Wisani, good morning and thank you for your time. This is important data, isn't it? It's still at 100% capacity, but what does this trend and the decline we are reporting say on the cause of a trend that you've been monitoring of the Vaal Dam?
It is to receive the dam development with 100.25%.
Wisani, I apologize. The line to you is really not great. I don't know if you are able to move around for a little bit and then try and connect and have a better connection, because we are struggling to hear you. So while we allow you to do that, let me just recap some of what we are reporting, that it's now at 100.25%, and that is down from 103.8%, so nearly 104% a week ago. So what I'm wondering, and I don't know if we have you back. No, we're still trying to dial Wisani back. What I'm wondering is the implications for the system as a whole. Wisani, do we have you back? No. All right. Let's see if we can get Wisani back on the line, because the Vaal River system is one of those systems that are critical in terms of supplying water to a number of provinces, and the Department of Water and Sanitation monitors those levels quite closely. And, significant rainfall has fallen already in the area around Gauteng, which I imagine forms part of the catchment area for the Vaal River system. But what are the implications for the dam itself and availability, at least at the upper end of the water value chain, before everything else happens with the reservoirs and the pipelines and everything that you and I have been talking about for at least the last few months?
The soundtrack of your life with Ernest Pillay.
Some songs take you back instantly to your first love, a road trip, or just simpler times. The soundtrack of your life with me, Ernest Pillay, is where timeless hits and forgotten favorites come together to tell your story. It's not just music, it's memories, moments, and the meaning behind this jam. Rediscover the songs that shaped your journey. Tune in to the soundtrack of your life with me, Ernest Pillay, Saturdays and Sundays, 1 to 4 p.m., only on SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide.
SAFM music crafted to make you feel real good. Handpicked just for your pleasure. Classics sounding so good only on SAFM.
All right, you're listening to the morning brief here on SAFM 104 to 107. A quick voice note before I get to Zai.
Yo, Tulas. No way, man. So dictatorship, censorship, kana. No way, man. So people don't want to be themselves. So we must always pretend. We must act like we want to impress all the time. No, man, they can die. That's can check their visa, man.
Yeah. What did you say in 2021? What did you write at the height of emotions about one issue or another when they were telling people to inject bleach to fight the COVID? You must have reacted, ne? Thinking, there's no consequence. This is my personal space, personal expression, freedom of expression. Now, 2025, we want to go to the US. That's relevant in the consideration.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Hey, good morning to you, Zai. What do you write on social media, Zai? I imagine that you are very disciplined.
On social media.
Unless, of course, it relates to, needling Zelma about Kaiser Chiefs.
Why do you open that kind of worms? So we talk about safety while we're
No. There's the Proteas women, Zai. Very important story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the way they Okay, we'll focus on the Proteas women while the men are wobbling at the moment. They're reminding us how the game is actually played. Yesterday we saw that they didn't get onto the field. Lightning, heavy rain, forcing the abandonment of that third T20 against Ireland in Benoni. South Africa, the women have already wrapped up the series in style, winning the first two matches by massive margins. Focus now shifts to the ODI series, which gets underway Saturday in East London. Let's go to Bafana. Coach Hugo Bruce hasn't only raised concerns about Mbekezeli Mbokaji's late arrival, he's also questioning the defender's move to the United States. Let's hear from the coach.
I will tell you what I think. No. No. What is he going to do in Chicago? Yeah. He's not even a top team in America. And if my info is right, I don't know. Don't quote me, but because they told me that he will play in MLS 2. That's the second team of Chicago. I don't know. It's the truth. I don't know. They told me. So I will ask him when I see him. That is even worse. But I know what happened. A nice little woman who is his agent and thinks she knows football is doing what many agents are doing. How much can I get? If she is a little bit clever, she knows that it is AFCON, and she knows that next year there is World Cup, that there will be other teams better for his career to go to, and not to Chicago. What is he going to do alone there in the big city like that? So no, I don't think it's a good choice.
Now, the main ticket ballot for next year's FIFA World Cup in North America opens today. First chance for fans to apply since the schedule was confirmed. Prices in the earlier phases range from just over 1,000 rand to nearly 136,000 rand, sparking criticism over affordability. fans can apply via FIFA's website this evening for up to 4 tickets per match and 40 across the tournament. Applications close on the 13th of January with the draw and the payments finalized in February. This is sport finalized for now. We'll bring you more top of the hour. I'm Zai Khan.
Good morning. I'm Anne Musa. In the headlines, the delegates of the ANC's National General Council have sought to refine the party's policies ahead of next year's local government elections. The family of the Brakpan man whose body was pulled from a dam 3 years ago has approached lobby group AfriForum in a bid to seek justice. Emmanuel Mbensis died after a group of Ekurhuleni Metro Police, SAPS, and private officers allegedly tortured him in 2022. And the M23 rebels in the east of the Democratic Republic of Congo say they are now in full control of the city of Uvira. It's the last government-held settlement in South Kivu province. I'll have details on these and other stories at 8.
SAFM traffic with momentum. Just as you plan your route, only 15% of households plan for retirement. Plan yours today. Speak to a Momentum accredited financial advisor for advice that meets your context. You know who doesn't get year-end fatigue? Rob Byrne. Never. Not Rob.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
No year-end fatigue. We come alive this time of year. Actually, it really spurs us on. Really, we find it very exciting indeed. Good morning. The M1 South out of Pretoria is heavily backed up. Crash near Rigel Avenue. It's all taking place on the left-hand side there, but it just means a queue of traffic coming down from Atterbury through Clairefontaine on towards Rigel Avenue. N1 South through Midrand, busy, but certainly the first signs of school holidays have kicked in, and it's sort of general holiday feel about the place, isn't there? So a lot lighter volumes. The M1 through Deepcliff still fairly busy, not as bad as it can be, but coming in from Protea Glen, Lenasia, there is a bit of traffic volume still on that route. Durban looking heavy this morning, particularly on your way out to Pietermaritzburg and for your flight connections as well. So first up, if you're going out to PMB, there are now 2 stationary trucks between Keyridge and Cliffdale, plus the earlier closure, which backed everything up exponentially. So the closure has been lifted, that crash has been cleared, but at least two trucks are broken down, so you've got single lane sections, and it's a disaster if you're going out. It's a queue from Shongweni, very heavy. And then on your way to the airport, you've got the normal backlogs on the M2 North from the M7 through Westwood Mall into the roadworks, and a breakdown up before Gateway, and that's a really heavy queue for a broken down vehicle obstruction all the way back through Kumashu and back down towards Queen Nundy Drive. If you need those flights this morning, give yourself plenty of time. We'll look at something like the M4 or Slugger Drive as your alternatives. Cape Town fairly heavy, N1 inbound from the Belleville area, from about Durban Road all the way through towards Kuba, get a change, and also just some queues on the R300 going south. Looks like a problem opposite Delft. If you're on your way towards the N2, there is a backlog through Hindle Road on that R300 southbound track. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
Momentum is part of Momentum Group Limited, an authorized FSP and registered credit provider.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it, they say. But my toaster isn't broken exactly. It just lands my toast on the kitchen floor. You see, some things only kinda never work. Like a financial plan based on generic advice. That's why Momentum accredited financial advisors take the time to understand you, and only then apply their expertise. Advice meets your context. Momentum, your journey to success. Momentum is part of Momentum Group Limited, an authorized financial services and registered credit provider.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide. The business update on SAFM.
Yeah, here for the second update of the morning is Ndauling Lechela. Ndauling, good morning. Mr. Price is casting its eye to the European market for growth.
You're absolutely right. Taylor, it's yes, a new billion rand deal by German-based transaction into 5.5 billion rand European market for the first time. And the acquisition marks the of building on Studio 88 power plant shift for the create leading powerhouse. Now, NKD creates 2,000 based homework of 7 countries, and would look at annual revenue and its side. Now, this may be seen as positive in not like with shares slumping overnight. Analysts trading the size and timing of the deal, as well as Europe's tougher retail environment. CEO Mark Blair, though, insists move is deliberate and research-led, saying international expansion is important to building a new enterprise with global scale and long-term growth opportunities.
Tell me about why Libstar is dumping its mushroom business. The mushrooms are not shrooming, are they?
It seems like they are. This is all part of the streamlining. It really is, taking another bold step to clean up its portfolio, exiting fresh mushroom operations. Now, the sale will leave a financial boom, though. It's expecting a pre-tax loss up to 55 million rand. The hit management says it's necessary to streamline the business and focus on categories with stronger long-term. Now, the proposal covers mushroom facilities in Gauteng and while the site paper contract closure and a separate sale. While the brand stays with Libra, but the buyer receives exclusive rights to use it for fresh mushrooms. At the same time, Libra is moving to existing non-categories entirely, with the board now reviewing for Contextum, its remaining household and personal care division. These announcements also come alongside a pre-close update. The Libra a 6.7% rise in revenue, stronger volumes, and improved margins, saying it remains on track to meet full-year targets despite a strained consumer environment.
Lastly, Dowling, how are the markets looking at this hour?
Starting in Asia, stocks deeper negative this morning. The Japanese Nikkei hit the hardest, down 0.9%. Now, this comes as SoftBank says it's lower after Oracle cost out on their I dot and the mood seems to be similar in the US, with futures in the red, totally different picture from yesterday. Many analysts are worried about this rate cycle, pulling yesterday's news gave Powell said the central bank well positioned to take a wait and move. Then coming back, it was upbeat with the BSC 0.3% higher. The rand also on firmer footing with our 16.90. But looking at commodities, oil in the red, trading near dollars per barrel. Traders, however, keep a close eye on the market at how U.S. Venezuela tensions impact prices. As Washington sees an oil tanker of Venezuela.
All right, Dowling, thank you for that. We'll talk to you one more time. And I'm not trying to trigger Zelma into playing a certain song here. No, it's a manner of speaking. One more time, we'll talk to you just after 8:30, in which update, of course, as she always expertly does, Dowling will give you a sense of where the day is going with trading on this Thursday.
Gender-based violence is destroying lives and tearing communities apart. It happens in homes, in schools, at workplaces, and too often in silence. But it doesn't have to continue. If you see it, speak out. If you are hurting, reach out. Because doing nothing is not an option. Listen to all 19 SABC radio stations for hard talk, discussions, advice, dramas, educational shows, and interviews around GBV with experts, survivors, lawmakers, and a whole country affected by gender-based violence. All on your favorite SABC radio station. Call 0800 428 428 to report abuse or get help. GBV, it ends with you. This message is brought to you by the SABC. Call Thulasizwe now, 086 000 2032.
Right. I'll come back to your calls in just a moment, but I want to go to this story. As South Africans push through the final stretch of 2025, a growing number of employees are experiencing what's colloquially known as year-end fatigue. a seasonal surge in exhaustion, irritability, and mental overload that typically peaks in November and December, unless you are that colleague that I was talking about, whose name shall not be mentioned. While not a formal diagnosis, experts say it's a predictable pattern fueled by intense work pressure, emotional strain, and the blurred boundaries between professional and personal responsibilities. So, is year end fatigue an actual thing, or are we just being lazy to work towards the end of the year as we prepare for the big days? Anele Siswana is clinical psychologist and lecturer at the University of the Free State. Let's start right there. Good morning to you, Anele. Is it a thing, or is it something that we've convinced ourselves about?
Yeah, good morning, my brother, and to the listeners. Like you, the nice, it is not a psychological formal disorder. But it's an expected for just around October, leading to November, December, the combination of everything that people are really, really exhausted. Because it's just not only about work, it's just about life itself. And there's a lot of changes, a lot of transitions, a lot of movement, many moving parts that continuously continue. So it comes from a number of completed tasks, a number of completed ones that we see throughout what we can as year end fatigue. And we often find that people are tired, physically, emotionally, spiritually, because the year has just been long.
Can it be, in a way, linked to what some describe as an adrenaline rush? That when you have a task to carry out, no matter how exhausted you are, your adrenaline and other hormones will push you. And then as you approach the end of that task, so if you've had a high pressure year, now around November, December, you're starting to wind down and that adrenaline is starting to betray you. Is that part of it?
Well, I am not much of a medical
Sure.
person, but I suppose there is an impact or there is some sense of correlation around adrenaline, around our anatomy or physiology that at the end of the day, our bodies are the aid for us to function adequately. And so, if there is a mechanical imbalance or some sort of physiological implication, it will then affect some parts. I mean, mostly our nervous system, heart system, really, if that is affected, everything else doesn't go well. But I suppose um, the body itself is a tool for functionality. And if there are chemical imbalances, uh, uh, physiological deficiencies, and this is also realize that with NDC, some people be sick. Um, Either they have ran out of certain elements of the body that revitalization. I mean, we've seen a lot of people going for um, what's this thing for vitamin boost
Yes, those
to
intravenous
just
drips.
yeah to aid the body to be functional, and sometimes the same adrenaline is that which we need, and if used or overused, chances the bodies or our bodies get to a point where it can shut down. Some people year end fatigue, their bodies get shut down, they get sick. Um, they don't have the adequate functionality because the body is.
So how do we cope with this? I mean, some of the symptoms that you will know better, that people tend to report is that whole issue of exhaustion, irritability, sleep patterns being, disturbed around this time of year. How do we cope with it?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, with the body being strained, the fatigue, we also need to be mindful of the fact that
Um, within that presentation, we must never underlook the suggestion of we may think it is PTSD, but for the most part, it could be clinical depression because those symptoms that you've described, like the exhaustion, the fatigue, the sense of wanting to be isolated, the sense of losing appetite and sleep disruption, those could be symptoms that are linked um, depression and some to anxiety. So I don't want us to work with the success fatigue for the most part. People at times, for us as psychologists, one of the major antipsychotics diagnosed is vegetative disorder and anxiety. How to cope with it? If you then see that your levels of functionality are greatly impacted, not able to work optimally at work, that things have significantly changed, that your functionality is greatly impacted, then I suppose it is important to then have a see a GP that they do some screening and assist what is happening. But if it persists and it takes quality of life, then you see a psychiatrist, you see a psychologist that can give you a clinical diagnosis, obviously, treatment, and therapy that can work.
Sage advice there. Thank you for that. That's Anele Siswana, who is clinical psychologist and lecturer at the University of the Free State.
Thulasizwe Simelane is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio.
So let's turn to this now. Let's look to the skies. And the country's aviation sector has experienced a troubling spike in aircraft accidents this year, prompting concern from the South African Civil Aviation Authority. By early December, the country had recorded at least 43 aircraft accidents, including 12 fatal crashes that resulted in 17 deaths, a significant increase compared to the same period in 2024. Let's speak to Dean Khumalo, who is from the South African Civil Aviation Authority and is an executive for aviation safety operations. Good morning to you and thank you for your time. Do I capture the picture accurately? Has there been a spike compared to previous years?
Good morning, Thulasizwe, and good morning, the listeners. And thank you for having us on the radio this morning. We really appreciate it. So, go straight to your answer, your question, sorry. As the Civil Aviation Authority, we do undertake some trend monitoring on the industry. And what we have realized, particularly during the month of October, now, they have like noticeable up general aviation of our industry. So that has prompted authority to raise awareness. This is something that we do on a constant basis, but in this particular instance, we have accelerated our efforts.
Say a bit more about that category, because general aviation as compared to what? Commercial aviation? And for someone who's not in the field, explain which sector exactly is that?
Very good question, Thulasizwe. So when we speak about general aviation, we're talking about the sector which is excluded from commercial passenger operations. So this would be your privately owned aircraft, your aircraft that are operated by training schools, your aircraft that are operated in the recreational space, generally smaller aircraft in comparison to the large passenger.
So what do you believe, because obviously, in your sector, every accident is an opportunity for you to go into the reasons and perhaps future-proof, what caused that crash. From the trends you are seeing, what are some of the factors at play that have driven this spike?
Yes, so as we collect data post the investigation of accidents and incidents, we prompt the trends that we see. So what we currently see in that space, issues of complacency, issues of fatigue, issues of perhaps in the training environment, which is an environment where you've got pilot learners in that space. So those are some of the issues that we see. Say that particularly during peak seasons like we have now, individuals with experience at some point they have some complacency. But also lately we have seen issues of disregarding whether participation, sometimes whether is not favorable to fly in, then there is that element of taking a chance and try and fly in those unfavorable conditions.
Locate this for us within the global context and as a parting shot, Dean. How do we compare with the rest of the world? For example, the ICAO, Commercial Aviation Organization, and the audits that they do in terms of the safety oversight system, as well as this record of South Africa not having seen a major airline accident in 40 years. How do we compare globally? And could there be a sense of complacency that is perhaps kicking in? Dean? We do seem to have lost Dean Khumalo there, who is the executive for aviation safety operations at the South African Civil Aviation Authority. I don't know what happened to that line, but I think we got enough out of that conversation. From traffic in the skies to traffic on the road, Rob Byrne standing by.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Well, it's school holidays, so generally lighter conditions around the entirety of the country, but there are a couple of exceptions. One, a big standout is the M1 South coming out of Pretoria on your way to Joburg. Crash near Rigel Avenue involving some trucks, left lanes closed, really heavy backlog coming down from Linwood Road. So you'd want to sort of get out of Pretoria if you need the M1s. Try and sort of work your way off the R21 and get onto it there down to Botha Avenue for a much easier run through that section between Linwood and Rigel. Absolutely jam-packed. Also, a little bit of an operation inside Deepcliff interchange means you will be queuing heavily this morning. N1 North now from the Potch Highway up through Deepcliff towards Uncle Charlie's. Also operations on the M2 out of Joburg and into central Joburg around that sort of Benrose area. Very heavy backlogs on that section of the M2 highway both ways. Durban, if you're on your way to the airport, the latest is that stationary truck before Gateway is still there. It's a really big queue of traffic this morning from just after Inunda Roads where you pick that up through Queen Nandi and Komashu and up towards the obstruction in the roadworks. Looks like a single lane open to squeeze past. Still some stationary trucks between Shongweni and Cliffdale. So Peter Maritzburg bound up Keyridge into Cliffdale remains a very heavy backlog. The road was closed earlier this morning for a short time. That's what backed everything up. And then the stationary trucks have just not let that queue ease or recover. Cape Town, some pressure on the R300 running south passing Delft. If you're on your way to the N2, there's queue backlogging through the Hindle Road exit. And the N1 looking fairly busy this morning. Just traffic coming inbound through Kraaifontein, Brackenfell, and then from sort of Belleville all the way through to city centre. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
You could spend 10 minutes hunting for the TV remote or get a 10-minute quote from Outsurance that could save you thousands on your car insurance. For her 2024 Kia Picanto, 52-year-old Janine now only pays 561 Rand a month. And for her 2025 Jetour Dashing, 29-year-old Sana pays just 796 Rand a month. Ready to get more out of your car insurance? SMS out to 42876. That's out to 42876. Outsurance, licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
The Blues believe the only way to breathe closer to the summit is to triumph and ensure there's joy at Stamford Bridge.
Clipping it. Neto! Yes. Fantastic goal. Great ball gettings. From a player in real form, left wing to right wing to back of the net.
While the Toffees refuse to underrate the power of 3 points.
Dewsbury Hall still has it and scores a beauty. Delightful to blast Everton in front at Old Trafford.
This is the Premier League. Do not miss out on Chelsea FC versus Everton FC on Saturday, 13 December at 4:30 p.m. Live on SABC Plus and SABC 3. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
Call Thulasizwe now. 086 000 2032.
All right, let's hear what's on your mind. What is the conversation that moves you this morning? Let's go to Paul in Joburg. Good morning to you, Paul.
Good morning.
the support provided by the state
Mm.
to cultural sector.
Mhm.
In another sense, for me, we have recently acquired a farm to get us to get into the cultural.
Right.
Now, what we didn't know, or what I think not many people know, is the kind of support that the state provides. Uh, we have a small head. That we realized that was some three lemmas, the Atlantic scale.
Mhm.
So, and then we were talking to, there is a series called Extinction 7.
Mm. Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Extension
And then we were,
officers and the likes.
the extension officers,
Yeah.
yes. And then we were talking to one of the state, the farm, and then the, then we called them, and then they said, oh, okay, obviously we are still battling the of put them out, but they will make it. And then the appointment with us, and then really for my things to my surprise,
Mhm.
came, and then they looked at the animals,
Mm.
and then they provided the necessary services on them. And then they gave us advice what we should be doing.
Right.
And I thought, this is kind of things that they exist out there, and not many think,
But
not many people would know about.
they don't get
And
much attention, yeah?
they don't get much attention. And then I believe there needs to be much attention to these
Perfect.
things because agriculture is, you know, security.
100%. Paul, thank you for that.
So I thought I should.
Where the state works.
Yeah.
Thank you for that, Paul. That's Paul in Joburg. Thank you for that, Paul. I wonder what the experience of other people is, but that's a good thing, isn't it? Where the state delivers on what is supposed to be delivered. The many pockets of service delivery that never really come to mind when you think state service delivery. And Paul, they having had a good experience with not only the um, extension services of the agriculture department. I'm chuckling because I'm forcing myself now to say that word, but veterinary services. It's my Achilles heel. Whew, let's leave that veterinary. Yeah, okay, that word. Those people, animal doctors. Just as I was about to go to more calls, something seems to be happening with my system. Anyway, let me go to your voice notes. A few people want to talk about this Mbogazi issue in the Bafana Bafana camp and what has transpired between the coach and the player. Let me take one or two voice notes about that.
Good morning, Tulas. Tulas, can you please invite somebody, man, who can unpack us this expression by Bafana Bafana coach that Mbokazi came in as a black guy but went out as a white guy? What does that actually mean? Thank you.
Good morning to Lesson team. I just heard the coach, né? And he's talking about the player being late for training. I don't know if I heard correctly when the coach said came in as a black guy, is going to leave as a white guy. If that is the case, will you please engage me further on this? What did the coach? That's only if I heard correctly.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, a lot of people are talking about it. To be honest, I've not heard the clip. It's one of those areas where you don't really expect a controversy. So therefore, you think, I mean, we've just qualified and we're all okay. We're going to be playing in the World Cup. You're not thinking that there could be a controversy emanating from there. So what I will do is try and hear the clip for myself, and then the team will see how we take the conversation forward with regard to that. In fact, many people want to talk about that, including this one.
Good morning, Thulasizwe Simelane and the team. I have so much respect to Coach Hugo Bros, but I have only problem with him. He doesn't know how to address players' issues. The way he handled the issue of Begezi and Bogazi, he's destroying him. He's still destroying this young player. These young players need his guidance.
All
Thank you, Tulas.
Thank you for that. So clearly something for us to return to, a pain point and a conversation point for many people. We'll do our due diligence and line up a proper conversation for you, perhaps tomorrow. 8 a.m., let's go to N Musa on standby with the latest news.
Outsurance is in the business of saving you money on your car insurance premium. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
Thanks to us. In our top stories, family of murdered Brakpan man demands justice, and Cape Winelands Airport announces appointment of a contracting partner. Good morning. Lobby group AfriForum says it has asked police watchdog IPID to urgently explain why it has taken years for it to finalize its investigation into the killing of Emmanuel Mbenze. The 51-year-old was tortured to death allegedly by officials from the Ekurhuleni Metro Police, the SAPS, and a private security company in April 2022. His body was later dumped in a dam. Before witness D. Marius van der Merwe was shot dead, he had testified before the Matlanga Commission of Inquiry that he was instructed to dump the body. The bereaved family has requested AfriForum's assistance in its quest for justice. Head of AfriForum's private prosecution unit, Barry Bateman, says they are demanding arrests in the matter.
We only got onto this matter 4 days after Mr. van der Merwe testified. We were approached by Mr. Mbenze's family because they were alerted that morning. Now, you must understand, for 3 years, you don't hear from the authorities. You don't have the details of how your brother, your father died. But you get called that morning by an IPID investigator saying, expect some details to emerge at the Matlanga Commission. And the family listens in. They hear for the first time how their loved one was basically asphyxiated using a method called tubing, murdered and dumped in a dam. That's how a victim's family finds out the details. So why haven't these people been arrested and appeared in court?
The delegates of the ANC's 5th National General Council, the NGC, have sought to refine the party's policies ahead of next year's local government elections. The 4-day NGC ends today in Boksburg, east of Johannesburg. The NGC serves as a platform to assess the party's progress. Management of the Cape Winelands Airport has announced a major step in its multi-billion rand expansion program. Spokesperson Deirdre David says the airport has formally appointed a leading construction company as its contracting partner. She says the expansion will include a new terminal and extended runways.
The appointment of WBHO as our contracting partner is another step closer to a second airport in Cape Town. The focus will shift to detailed planning, giving the team a much better perspective on how to phase, on costs, and importantly on timelines. We love and appreciate all of the support we've been getting. It's been incredible.
The M23 rebels in the east of the Democratic Republic of Congo say they are now in full control of the city of Uvira. It's the last government-held settlement in South Kivu province. In a statement, the Rwanda-based rebels have called on the remaining Congolese soldiers to surrender. Tens of thousands of civilians have fled to Burundi, a few kilometers from Uvira. Patrick Muyaya is the Congolese information minister.
The first thing we are hearing and we are very worried about is the displacement of people. More than 200,000 Congolese people are displaced. The humanitarian situation is catastrophic. A week even after the signature in the peace agreement in Washington, Rwanda are using drones and all those military materials against civilians, against houses, against schools.
And finally, Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina Machado has appeared in Oslo, Norway, after winning the Nobel Peace Prize. Machado was waving from the balcony of a hotel after months in hiding. She made the covert journey despite a travel ban against her and has mostly laid low since Venezuela's disputed presidential election last year. The last time she appeared in public was at a protest in January. The BBC's Nopeta Paradias has the details.
Last weekend, actually, there was this opposition leader who was a former governor of a northern state in Venezuela. He died in jail. He was put into jail in November last year, and he died. The government says he died of a heart attack. Critics say he was tortured in prison. So Venezuelan people have seen what happens to many people who oppose the government. So they don't really go out to protest anymore. And that's why Maria Corina Machado had to go into hiding.
Recapping the top story, lobby group AfriForum says it has asked police watchdog IPID to urgently explain why it has taken years for it to finalize its investigation into the killing of Emmanuel Mbenze. The 51-year-old was tortured to death allegedly by officials from the Ekurhuleni Metro Police, the SAPS, and a private security company in April 2022. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. You could spend 10 minutes hunting for the TV remote, or get a 10-minute quote from Outsurance that could save you thousands on your car insurance. For her 2024 Kia Picanto, 52-year-old Janine now only pays 561 Rand a month. And for her 2025 Jetour Dashing, 29-year-old Sana pays just 796 Rand a month. Ready to get more out of your car insurance? SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Outsurance, licensed insurer and FSP. JC's and information online.
Very good morning. Your SFM Sports headlines. It's cricket action today. Tristan Stubb is leaning on the senior Proteas. And South Africa looks to bounce back in India. In soccer news, Mali faced a major blow ahead of the Cup of Nations with no proper preparations planned. All the details just before 8:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
It's a very heavy Thursday for motorists leaving Pretoria with a truck crash on the M1 southbound by Rigel Avenue. Traffic backed and parked all the way back to Linwood Road. And looking for today's standards, given the fact we are in school holidays, exceptionally heavy. There's also a backlog going north from the R21 up to Rigel. Delays on the M2 highway through Joburg can be expected going inbound near Joe Slovo, going out at Benrose. And the N1 north, very heavy backlogs again into Uncle Charlie's. That run from the Potch Highway through Deepcliff interchange onto the N12. Is absolutely solid. If you're in from Lenasia, Protea, Glen, Wortha, routing around that one. Not one, but three broken down trucks between Shongweni and Cliffdale. Traffic to Peter Maritzburg remains a big disaster this morning. The old road's got to still come into play there. Also, a breakdown before Gateway still lingering around. This is the N2 North in the roadworks. One lane open. Very heavy and extreme delays on that section of the N2. Use the M4 or Umhlanga Rocks Drive to get through quicker. Cape Town, a bit of pressure on the N1 inbound from Kraaifontein to Brackenfell, then from Belleville through the city centre. It's busy. And the R300 queuing up as you pass Delft. There's a backlog there through Hindle Road, heading south towards the N2 highway. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
8 minutes after 8 on this Thursday. It's great to be in your company. Welcome to it, the third hour of the Morning Brief on SAFM 104 to 107. I want to just quickly tell you what you can expect within this half hour, because I'm trying to fit in as many of your voice notes and calls as possible. What we'll be talking about at about 20 past 8 or thereabouts, we'll be talking to Ian Cameron, the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Police. There are two versions that cannot both be true at the same time with regard to the availability or otherwise of sexual offense rape kits, evidence collection kits at Western Cape SAPS provincial supply chain stores. There's the version that says there's sufficient supply, as put out by Colonel Andre Trout, the spokesperson of the SAPS in the province, while speaking to Weekend Argus. He said, and I quote here, "Please allow me to clarify the matter. You are most likely misinformed. There is currently a sufficient supply of sexual assault kits available throughout the Western Cape." That's the one version. The other version says, in a surprise visit that was led by the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Police, Ian Cameron, they found that there were zero kits available. Absence of D1, D7 rape evidence collection kits at the SAPS provincial supply chain stores. The two can't be correct at the same time. So we'll talk to Ian Cameron, who will tell us what exactly they found and how concerned should we all be about that situation. But before we get to that conversation, I did say I want to take as many of your calls and voice notes as possible. 086 000 2032. Your WhatsApp voice notes 0614 104 107. Let's get straight to it. The third hour of the morning brief on this Thursday starts now.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable. You receive up to 745,000 Rand worth of legal services per year. Our range of plans include cover for you, your spouse, children, and extended family. Plans include cover for civil, criminal, and labor-related matters. Whether it's protection orders, gender-based violence, uncontested divorce, or poor service, your Clientele Legal lawyer will be there to assist you. Our services are convenient. Simply pick up the phone and call your lawyer or send us an email and we'll get back to you. All plans include a bail benefit of up to 5,000 Rand and we'll go to the police station and pay it for you. Plus, Clientele Legal offers you 24-hour telephonic legal advice. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
This season, make Christmas magic together with Spar and Super Savings. Like 1.5-liter Clover Crush 100% fruit juice blend for $38.99 plus 100 megs free data on Spar Mobile. Or 2.5 kg Snowflake Cake Wheat Flour for $34.99 plus 100 megs free data on Spar Mobile. Prices valid from 8 till 28 December 2025. While stocks last. T's and C's apply.
As part of our road safety strategy under the banner of Cross Alive, the Department of Transport, in partnership with the Cross-Border Road Transport Agency and law enforcement partners, is extending road safety efforts beyond our borders. South Africa experiences high levels of cross-border travel, especially during this time, and safety remains our priority. Let us work together to protect every life on every route. Brought to you by the Department of Transport, moving South Africa forward.
Call Thulasizwe now, 086 000 2032.
All right, quite a few people have been holding for some time, and I appreciate that. Apologies for the inconvenience. Let me go straight to the calls. Dineo in Bloemfontein, good morning.
Good morning, Thulasizwe. Good morning.
Yes, good morning. Please go ahead. I can hear you.
Okay, I want to talk about the crime in the country. I do believe, actually, personally, that ENC as the party that has been governing this country for a long time, it has been enabling and allowing time to reach the level that we're in today. I want to give an example of El Salvador. El Salvador was known as a major capital of the world
Yes.
before President Nayib Bukele took it in 2019. Yeah, 2019, I think. Today, that citizens that they are able actually to, where they were not even able to walk due to the time that was so high. Thanks to their president who took the matter into his hands. So the ANC in our country, the ones that have failed us as the citizens, the ones that have failed our children, that's because of they have enabled this crime to go in rampant, to go out of control.
Yeah.
They have dismantled the command system in the rural areas. Rural areas.
Yeah. Dineo, are you still there? Dineo?
Yeah.
So sorry,
That's what I
Dineo.
wanted to say.
Yeah. No, thank you for that, Dineo. I think it's an absolutely well-made point. I think personally, I don't know, maybe others will. I find absolutely nothing to quibble with that because there is a government democratically elected with a mandate, with all the parameters and the equipment and infrastructure to have brought crime under control and enforced and entrenched the rule of law in this country. Where that has failed, they must shoulder the responsibility 100%. The ANC that has led the government in terms of the last 30 years or so, and even now, still a significant player within the government of national unity. I think That is a point well made and appropriate to make because it is possible. It could have been possible to stamp the authority of the state within the parameters that have been laid out. No one is saying that you can have, we should have a Duterte style war on drugs and have bodies piling up on the streets every day. But we are saying use the instruments we've given you. You are not powerless as a government. Stamp the authority of the state. And that, to a large extent, has not happened. Instead, there's been all this dilly-dallying and messing around with the criminal justice system as well documented over the years. Spamandla in Gqeberha, good morning.
Yes, I want to
Sawubona.
good, sir.
Yeah, I'm good, wena.
Not too bad.
Mm.
Mara ngiphethe kabi umbokazi. He's
TLB.
losing attention. He
Eish.
goes to Chicago. He's gonna stop playing.
You think so?
Because coach Mkelele, coach Hugo Bruce, he has so much opportunity to become the next second Mkelele.
Uh-huh.
But he's gonna become a second-hand player in Chicago. Who cares about Chicago?
What do you mean? Who cares about Chicago? That's in the MLS. He will get to play with other players, and isn't it quite competitive as well? Yes, it's not the EPL or Bundesliga, but I think it's a decent league, is it not?
Decent is not as good as Pirates, Baba.
You just don't want him to go. Talk to me about water shortages, Paman.
Oh, so it was reported last Wednesday, Thursday. You know, people say like that, massive water shortage in it. That is one of our water capital areas, like so, like practice the water storage, water conservation, number, water for sustainable accessible water. The numbers that so even abantu abalimayo, you don't need to water garden. Water is like 15 rand a liter. Imagine if you're a farm and you tap water, how much money are you wasting? Whereas you could use it, you could chop them up, or as much, have more liquid enough.
Yeah. Is this an issue that's close to your heart? It sounds like something that's close to your heart: environmental conservation, water preservation, and the likes.
Yes, sir. I mean, that's the only difference. One of the main differences between suburbs and Nika is that it's highly, highly, kids,
Yeah.
road, kids, don't, but in some phone, hard day.
Yeah.
Hard day. Hard day. Money around.
Yeah.
But to
All right.
plants and food, not
Yeah.
more livable.
Gotcha. Spamandla, thank you for sharing your passion for the environment and water conservation with us. That's active citizenry there, Spamandla, urging, cautious and careful and, yeah, really responsible water usage. Tibello in Durban, good morning.
Hello, Thulasizwe. How are you?
Very well. How are you?
I'm fine,
Mhm.
thanks. Thanks for taking my call. I know that I might be a little off topic this
You're never
morning, but
off topic.
I am.
Never, ever, Tibello. We talk about what you want to talk about. Yes.
Thank you so much. I'm in the streets here. I've got two kids. One that's grade one and another go to and I've applied the Town Junior for the closing date, which was the 30th of June. And up till today, the kids don't have a school. The one that will be my say school, and the school is 1 kilometer away from my house. The school situation is too far, and they're taking up a school fee for next year, so I can't afford the fee. That's why I'm having the home.
Sure.
And the boy that's in grade going to grade one next year, he's refusing to take him because history is having at a special needs school. So regardless of we've shown them in positions psychological reports, it shows that actually a child knows because he has that regardless of that, regardless of the past grade R in a mainstream creche now, flying colors. They still say, no, they can't take him in mainstream. They're trying to send him off to reducible without even trying him out in grade one.
So you're saying this is in Pinetown. Which school in Pinetown?
Pinetown Junior Primary
Junior
School.
primary. Tibello, it sounds like something that really is distressing for a parent. You applied in June, you say?
Yes.
Sure. Wow. And the year is about over. Stay on the line, Tibello. Let's see if anyone is responsive enough and listening to this conversation. And let's see if we can pick it up because it does sound like that difficulty. You know, they talk about feeder schools. Feeder school, if it's that age-old question that many people have had, especially in areas like Gauteng, that now do the online registration and application. That if the school is a kilometer away, why am I not? Why isn't it not just logic, basic logic that if I want my kids to go to this school, how do these things work? But in this particular case, Tibello's situation also complicated by the continued consideration of a child that was previously in a special needs school. So it does sound like something where someone just needs to take responsibility and say, I'm going to be of service. I'm going to attend to Tibello's issue and see how she can be assisted. I'll take a quick break and I'll come back with more of your calls and WhatsApp voice notes.
Attention all service providers. The Eastern Cape Provincial Treasury warns of fraudulent emails circulating, falsely claiming to be from our Supply Chain Management Director. These emails are not legitimate and are created by fraudsters to steal information. Do not click on links, do not open attachments, and always verify any requests directly with Treasury officials. Report suspicious emails immediately to 060 573 4917 or email to customercare@ectreasury.gov.za. Your prompt action can prevent fraud. This is an official notice from the Eastern Cape Provincial Treasury.
Yo, December is here. Festive mode on.
And this year, it's louder. AFCON 2025 kicks off 21 December and runs until 18 January 2026.
We're catching every match with SABC Sport, the official broadcaster.
At home, SABC2 is the home of AFCON. That TV is locked. No channel hopping.
On the move, our favorite SABC radio stations keep us in the game.
And while we dry, we stream it all on SABC Plus. No missing a moment.
This festive season, AFCON lives on SABC. SABC Sport is the official broadcaster of AFCON 2025.
It's game on everywhere.
At Auto & General, we understand your business is built on more than just vehicles. It's your stock, tools and equipment, and the premises where you work. Auto & General Business Insurance is designed for businesses like yours, protecting your assets against fire, theft, storms, and other unexpected events. To protect your livelihood, visit autogen.co.za and get an obligation-free business insurance quote. Auto & General, never not there. Auto & General is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
Dashing through the door, after we buy cars we go. Gonna treat myself this year, the prices are so low. We buy cars, we buy cars, we buy all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a new car today. We buy cars, we sell all the way. Saving so much money feels like another holiday.
Ho, ho, ho. We buy cars, the most festive way to sell and buy your car by far.
Call Thulasizwe now, 086 000 2032.
Yeah, let me go to your voice notes. Someone wants to respond to the conversation with a caller a couple of minutes ago who was talking about the levels of crime and laying the blame on the ANC for having allowed for the crime situation to get out of control. Let me hear what this person has to say.
Morning, Tulas. All of us are blaming the ANC for crime, for corruption. All of us. So who is the ANC? Who is the criminal? Who is the corrupt? Who is the corrupt here? Who is the criminal? Is it the name ANC or what? Or us?
Yeah.
Can you please explain for me that one? Anonymous.
Anonymous, thank you. Profound questions. Reminds me of Peter Tosh. Everyone is talking about crime, but who are the criminals? Who are the criminals? And I suppose embedded in that is the question of, if you're saying that the ANC in government has enabled this deterioration, crime, and the other issues, corruption, and what you are talking about, who has enabled the ANC? That is the question I take from what Anonymous is saying. Someone wants to talk about Gayton Mackenzie and Julius Malema. I wonder what they've done this time.
Hey, good morning, Tulas and SAFM radio listeners. Tulas, can anyone come and explain that the important letter from sports minister to Julius Malema? For the first time, I heard someone putting Malema on his place. Yeah, Anonymous from Welcome.
Ish, Anonymous. What a cliffhanger. I was hoping you were going to share with us what that letter says. I've not seen it, unfortunately. But now that you've mentioned it, I will look for that letter and see what is entailed therein. Earlier on, we were talking about your social media history and whether it would stand up to scrutiny if it was to be if it was to be considered in an official platform, such as what the United States is introducing in terms of certain people from visa waiver countries, about 42 countries. Let's hear what this person has to say about social media.
Morning to Thulasizwe. This is Cape Town. I fundamentally disagree with your speaker on social media. She correctly says that social media is about the extension of yourself. In social media, you do what you do when you are happy and when you are angry. So it's part of you. There's no need for you to hide who you are. If you say something and you delete it just for the interview or for some acceptance, then that's not who you are.
Yeah.
You should not say things you don't mean.
Yeah, I hear you. So for you, live your truth. If you perish, you perish. It is what it is. If it means you're not going to get a visa, so be it. All right. I think there'll be many people who share that sentiment, but others will consider the convenience slash inconvenience of it all and perhaps take up that advice that says go back 5 years ago, scrub, clean, remove those things that you think may put you at a disadvantage.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
All right, Zai, good morning to you. The T20 International, this time you're talking Proteas men, and they'll be trying to level the series.
Yes, to us, especially after they were beaten, but we're trying to erase that memory. None of us posted it on social media. We're looking forward to seeing Kristen Stubb. He's also looking forward to having senior players, Quinton de Kock, David Miller, Andrik Nokia. God, this is a massive as the Proteas look to bounce back in India today. Stubbs, now one of the senior batters himself, knows the experience. The trio is invaluable. So that heavy defeat, the second T20, it gets underway in New Chandigarh, 3 this afternoon with the Proteas aiming to level the series. Rugby, Springbok lock, Evan Etzebeth has accepted 12-match ban for eye gouging on Wales flanker Alex Mann last month's 73-0 win in Cardiff, but he maintains it was never intentional. The double World Cup winner will be sidelined until April after a disciplinary committee confirmed the sanction. Elizabeth says he accepts punishment. Insists initial contact was on Mann's shoulder. Player movement led to the dangerous-looking replay. Soccer news, former Kaizer Chiefs midfielder George Maluleke is stepping into a new chapter, building a multi-sport academy in Polokwane while completing his coaching badges. Mido has already secured land for the project. Says his new role as Betway ambassador can help drive the academy forward.
I've had a partnership with the Department of Education, Polokwane, and Department of Health. I do disability events through my foundation. So there's just too much. There's a lot happening. I think they will eventually, because I just started off with them. At least the foundation is there, is all set. I think now it's just to sit down and see how we can work things out moving forward. I didn't speak about Betway, mind you. I just got on as an ambassador. And it's been great. We've had road shows, road trips.
Meanwhile, Mali are facing a major setback ahead of AFCON, with reports confirming they will have no proper preparation program before the tournament. One is expected to hold only limited training sessions with no friendly matches arranged. And finally, in the UEFA Champions League, Manchester City edged Real Madrid 2-1. Heavyweight clash. Arsenal were comfortable 3-0 winners away to Club Blues. Juventus beat Pafos 2-0 in Turin, and Ajax hit 4 past Karabakh in a 4-2 victory. Elsewhere, Villarreal were stunned 3-2 by Copenhagen. Benfica shut out Napoli 2-0, and Leverkusen drew 2-2 with Newcastle. Athletic Bilbao and Paris Saint-Germain ended goalless. That's your sport on the morning brief. Ended for now. Check back around 12:30 with Don Jerica. We'll have more. I'm Zaikan.
Good morning, I'm Anne Musa. In the headlines, the family of a man who was killed allegedly by officials from the Ekurhuleni Metro Police, SAPS, and a private security company, says it has suffered secondary trauma. Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs Minister Velinkosini Hlabisa says consultations are underway with the Electoral Commission on choosing the date for the 2026 local government elections. The current term will expire on November the 1st next year, and delegates of the ANC's 5th National General Council have sought to refine the party's policies ahead of next year's local government elections. The 4-day NGC ends today in Boksburg, east of Johannesburg. I'll have details on these and other stories at 9.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. A couple of big incidents that we're watching. If you're driving in or out of Joburg on the M2, there's some very heavy backlog going on, particularly out of Germiston. You're going to be asked to queue to Benrose side. And if you're coming inbound, you're going to be queuing through to Joe Slovo coming in from Benrose. So very heavy backlogs on that M2, exceptionally heavy. In fact, the N1 south into Buccleuch, something's just happened there after Allendale Road. You'll hit a queue. This truck crash or tanker crash on the M1 south at Rigel Avenue from earlier this morning. Vehicle still stuck in the left lane there. And a backlog from Atterbury Road and looking quite heavy. Still a couple of breakdowns between Shongweni and Cliffdale if you're on your way to Pietermaritzburg. Traffic is heavy. It's nowhere near what it was earlier, but you will still hit some delays as you make your way through there. And get this right, I was going to come on and tell you that a stationary vehicle, a Gateway, that was causing all the problems towards the airport this morning has been cleared. That's factual, but I kid you not, as soon as that vehicle was cleared, it's now been replaced by a collision scene. So pretty much the same spot. The net result, the N2, heavy from Queen Nandi Drive up through Commercial Highway and on your way towards that incident by Gateway. Use the M4, the route first, if you're on a way out of Durban towards the airport and you don't want traffic hassles. Cape Town, M1 into town, fairly slow this morning from the Parow area right through the city centre, and a crash on the R300 southbound just past Hindle Road, slowing traffic through Delft towards the N2 highway. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
The business update on SAFM.
Hey, Ndauling, good morning to you once again. Let's talk retail sales. Tell me about them and what they've been doing in the past 2 months or so, specifically in October.
So we saw retail sales ticking high at the start of the sales rise 2.9% year on year in October. Momentum that lines up with improving consumer confidence and an uptick in retail sentiment. Now, Stats SA's latest data shows households are gradually regaining spending power as inflation cools, interest rates ease, and the labor market shows early signs of stabilizing. Improvement in mood is visible in what are buying as well. Our confidence translated directly into higher demand for discretionary goods, clothing, footwear, and textiles were the star performers, climbing 5.8%. Household furniture and appliances grew 13%, while other retailers posted growth of 7%. Hardware, paint, and glass also gained 5.8%, supported by stronger third-quarter sentiment among hardware retailers. Only specialized food, beverage, and tobacco stores slipped down close to 2%. On a month-on-month basis, sales rose 0.9%, ending a 2-month decline, with year-to-date sales now up 3.8%. Economists say the stronger quarter start positions retailers for an upbeat festive and firmer household consumption at the end of the year.
You know how you can tell I've got a bit of year-end fatigue when Ndauling. I read the note you sent me about Grindrod as saying
Yes.
that they're gaining momentum as they are as they are streaming efforts. So I read it as stream instead of streamlining. So it tells me I just wanna chill and stream, you know. Get December. Tell me about Grindrod and gaining momentum with their streamlining efforts, not streaming.
So the group is closing out the year on firmer ground, with guidance showing its turnaround gathering pace as it refines operations and also exits non-core businesses. In a trading update, the group said performance improved in the second half, supported by streamlined operations and stronger activity at its Mozambican port. Earnings from the port of Maputo rose 338 million rand for the 11 months to November, outpacing last year, while margins in the ports and terminals division strengthened to 39%. And this came despite a 12% drop in dry bulk commodity prices, with volumes holding up well. Now, Maputo processed 13.9 million tons, broadly steady, and Matola set new record with 9.1 million tons handled. Stronger operating momentum has swung Grindrod into a net cash position of 200 million rand, improvement from the 400 million rand net debt carried in the investor confidence has also lifted following new rail access rights. With restructuring largely complete, Grindrod says it's now focused on execution and targeted expansion across rail and terminal capacity.
All right, Dowling, wrap up everything you've told us this morning and give us a sense of the kind of trading day we can expect on this Thursday.
Starting with the JSE, local markets likely to start taking cue from international peers. Not much company news out today, but traders will be tracking how equities are digesting the Fed rate Rand pretty well to that at 16.97 to be greenback this hour. Over in commodities, oil slightly stronger, trading under $62 a barrel. Moving over to equities again, US futures are in negative territory, a different picture from yesterday's close. Many economists are worried about this, cutting cycle, calling yesterday's move hawkish. As Fed Chair Jerome Powell said, the central bank is well positioned to take a wait and see approach moving forward. That's also weighed on Asian markets, with those stocks on track to close the day in the red.
Dowling, thank you for today. That's Dowling Lichela, having kept you updated on business, economics, and the markets. Always right on the money is our Dowling Lichela.
You can become a victim of a legal problem: wrongful arrest, assault, uncontested divorce, rental disputes, maintenance matters, or labor problems. It can happen to you. Clientele Legal provides tough professional lawyers for an affordable monthly premium. Our legal team is standing by to assist you 24 hours a day. Join today. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
The Playhouse Company proudly presents a Christmas celebration. One performance only on Saturday, 20 December at 3 p.m. featuring Ayanda Ntanzi, Don Laka, Timothy Malloy, the powerful KwaZulu-Natal Philharmonic Orchestra, the Playhouse Chorale, and many more incredible artists. Tickets from just 200 Rand. Book at WebTickets. The ultimate spectacular Christmas show. Bold, brilliant, and not to be missed. Only at the Playhouse Company.
As part of our road safety strategy under the banner of Cross Alive, the Department of Transport, in partnership with the Cross-Border Road Transport Agency and law enforcement partners, is extending road safety efforts beyond our borders. South Africa experiences high levels of cross-border travel, especially during this time, and safety remains our priority. Let us work together to protect every life on every route. Brought to you by the Department of Transport, moving South Africa forward.
Thulasizwe Simelane is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio.
It's coming up to 20 minutes to 9. Let's focus on employment, unemployment, and the initiatives, at least one of the initiatives that has been put in play to try and respond to our unemployment crisis, particularly youth unemployment. President Cyril Ramaphosa is urging renewed national push to expand youth employment, calling for fresh incentives to reward companies that create meaningful work opportunities. Speaking at the Youth Employment Service, yes, a 200,000 milestone celebration, he highlighted the central role of partnerships between government, business, and training institutions in tackling the country's deep and persistent unemployment crisis. Ramaphosa argued that aligning incentives, strengthening the CETA system, and integrating YES into national sector strategies could form the foundation of a large-scale skills and jobs revolution for young people. Let's speak to Tsulu Mokgotsi and try and break it all down because, it's a lot of English and a lot of concepts that I've just mentioned. Tsulu, good morning. Tsulu Mokgotsi is Chief Partnerships Officer at the Youth Employment Service. Good morning and thank you for your time. Locate the Youth Employment Service within the broader context, the multi-frontal push against unemployment, particularly youth unemployment. We'll talk about the 200,000 mark, but what is YES and what has it been able to achieve in the last few years of its existence?
Good morning, and thank you for having me. So YES is the Youth Employment Service. It was established about 7 years ago out of a conversation between the president and business, where they were looking for ways in which they could create an incentive for business to hire unemployed youth. Young people have a specific problem in getting into the labor market because of experience. And you can have an older person with 30 years experience with the same qualification as a young person, but the young person will not be hired because they don't have experience. So experience is fundamental to making an entry point into the labor market. So YES was created to provide young people who are unemployed with that first opportunity for them to have meaningful quality work experience in the private sector that can become the basis for a career going forward. And so when it was established in about 7 years ago, the agreement was that they would leverage the BEE framework and create BEE. Any company or organization that hires young people according to a specific target would then be able to get an enhancement on their BEE score. And it has been quite successful, I think, since then, because we've seen about 2,000 odd companies participating in the initiative, creating to date about 200,000 jobs for young people. But now, the growth rate has been growing at about 28 to 30% for the last 5 years. And last year, we saw 43,000 young people get into the labor market through years, and we hope that we will see a better figure in the coming years.
So it's a foot in the door program. But what do we know about the quality of those jobs as well as the retention rate once, I understand that the first 12 months is what it's really about. Once that is done, what's the retention rate?
So the retention rate now is just under 50%. So what it means is that for every 2 people that get a foot in the door through years, 1 sticks in the labor market through employment, through formal employment. We see about 17% that pursue entrepreneurial opportunities after the YES program. So if you put the two together, we're looking at somewhere between, I guess, 65% or odd that go into the labor market through either formal employment or through entrepreneurship through years. So basically what it means is that if we can get 1 million people through years, then we have the sense that anywhere between 500,000 and 600,000 of that million would be able to stick in the labor market, which is actually the opposite of what is happening now, because about 1 million people leave the schooling system every year. And out of that million, some go into education, some go into employment, and about 600,000 out of 3 million people that leave school every year end up being unemployed.
So it's a pass, if I can put it that way. It's a pass. It's a decent pass if you're talking about 60% with the combined retention of 50% plus an extra 10 to, I don't know, 15 or thereabouts percent of those that go into entrepreneurship. But I don't imagine that you'd be satisfied though, because one would have imagined that given the depths of our unemployment, youth unemployment crisis, you would be aiming for something much, much higher than that.
We do, and I mean it's ultimately a mixed bag. So out of that 2,000 companies that we work with, there are some companies that, mostly through economic conditions in the market, and we all know that the economy of South Africa has been under some strain for some time, and we've seen very little growth over 15 odd years. But some sectors are struggling, and in those sectors we see lower retention. But some sectors are doing better, and in those ones we do higher retention rate. Like for example, we have partners like the Foschini Group that taken about 1,500 young people, and they retain 60 to 70% of those, and they basically deploy them in their stores. They deploy them in their village clothing village. Company like Famous Brands, which owns a lot of these food brands that we go to every day. They take in about 350 young people a year, and they retain 90% of them. And they train them as coffee baristas. They train them as sushi chefs. So it's a mixed bag. It depends primarily on the industry and dynamics of the industry. But what we would like to see though is to see more incentives being available to employ young people. We are quite fortunate in South Africa that we have a mix of incentives. We've got the ESP incentive. We also have the employment tax incentive. But we think, given the difficult, economic conditions that most companies face, adding more incentives into the basket can definitely help us to unlock them.
What more incentives are we talking about? We've already played the tax incentive card, the triple BE, empowerment and points card. What are the other possibilities?
So we are in discussion with the government and several departments on a mix of incentives that we propose. For example, if we look at the skills development incentive, we know that has a reasonably significant skills development ecosystem. But sometimes the investment in the skills system has not led to the outcomes that we're looking for in terms of employment or employability. So there is an opportunity to make the skills system more demanding. And what we're really talking about is basically connecting skills to young people getting into jobs. So providing companies that are willing to employ an extra funding for skilling for them to be able to then skill up the young people that they're employing. So that if they can do that, then basically it serves two purposes. It means that employers that look at taking in young people are able to make young people to have the kind of skills that they need as employers to be able to absorb those young people. And of course, on the youth side, it also means that you not only get a job, but you also get formal training that enhances your employment. So that's just an example of the type of incentives that we're in conversation.
All right, let's leave it there for this morning. Thank you for your time. That's Tsulu Mokhodzi, Chief Partnerships Officer at the Youth Employment Service.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Well, good news from Pretoria. The big tanker crash that we had on the M1 South at Rigel Avenue basically out of the way. The backlog is moving off quite nicely. M2 leaving Joburg out to Germiston. Expect a queue at Benrose. Major delays leaving central Joburg. M2 eastbound very heavy. The N1 north through Diepkloof down Uncle Charlie's. You're still going to be asked to queue this morning. So the run up from Eldos and Devlin remains heavy. And there's some pressure on Malabongwe inbound from Kayasan towards the North Riding area. Malabongwe heading down sort of towards Vidkop and the other side of Vidkop and Malabongwe towards President Forshire as you head towards the highway. Quite busy conditions there as well. Durban, a reminder of heavy traffic on your way to the airport on the N2. We had a breakdown at Gateway which backed everything up. That cleared and then a crash. It looks like that crash has just been moved to the side. So the backlog into Gateway is starting to move, but it has been particularly busy. A crash now on the N3 westbound after Key Ridge. So the big closure that we had earlier was lifted. Then multiple truck breakdowns, which have basically been cleared. And now there's a crash. It's been a really busy morning. The traffic is a lot lighter than it has been by quite a significant amount, but there are some delays as you work your way from Keir Ridge up to Cliffdale direction, Pietermaritzburg. And Cape Town, little crash on the R300 going southbound earlier this morning at Delft, just after Hindle Road, slowing traffic on that R300 run down towards the N2. N1 out of town, queued up towards Okavango Road. Backlog starts about the R300 north at Old Pal Road, and still plenty of pressure on the N1 going into Cape Town from sort of N1 City, Paro area. Traffic all the way through to the elevated freeway. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
Call Thulasizwe now, 086 000 2032.
All right, I need to just read a few of your messages that have come through. So earlier on, I made reference to the war on drugs of Rodrigo Duterte in the Philippines a few years ago, and I used the expressions bodies were piling up on the streets, and someone is taking me on that, and I just will quickly respond to it. Someone says bodies did not pile in the streets in Philippines. Tulas, you have no need to lie about the issue. Ramaphosa is leading the most murderous nation on earth now, and Duterte was nowhere near. Yet we cannot say bodies are quote unquote piling in the streets. Here are the figures. Human Rights Watch estimates 12,000. The ICC warrant for Rodrigo Duterte, the work that went into that, informing that, estimates 30,000 people that died during that. There's I think it's a BBC documentary that I would recommend that you listen to, about people who lived through it, not you and I. I'm far from it. I cannot talk with authority, but those who lived through that period will tell you what was happening in the Philippines. The rest of your message about Ramaphosa leading the most murderous nation on earth, I cannot quibble with that. I don't know whether factually that is the situation, but yes, it is quite a murderous nation. The murder rate in this country is just unacceptable, and you and I are in full agreement on that. Let me go to someone else who wants to. I tell you what, let me play a few voice notes so that I can go through some of the messages that have come through. Someone sharing that letter between Julius Malema and Minister Gayton Mackenzie, which I said earlier on I had not seen. And someone else wants to weigh in on El Salvador and the situation that they face as far as the crime and murder situation. A caller earlier on making reference to El Salvador and in a way talking about them perhaps making inroads in that situation and saying perhaps there are lessons to be learned for South Africa.
Hi, morning, Thulasizwe. I really agree with the lady from Free State about the El Salvador. El Salvador showed, the political will. Here at home, the ANC comrade, they don't care. They don't really care about the issue of crime. I would love to see from their NGC outcome if they have any issue around crime. They won't say anything because they know themselves they're criminals.
Thank you for that. And then one or two people, not one or two, a lot of people wanting to respond to what Coach Hugo Bruce has said and that whole dynamic with the TLB Mbogazi and what's playing itself out there. Someone says here on the WhatsApp line, Coach Bruce is not going to field Mbogazi at the AFCON. And by the time we go to the World Cup in June next year, Bafana will have a new head coach, says Mtunzi, that there will be consequences from those actions that we are seeing playing themselves now and perhaps going into the Africa Cup of Nations. Let me take one or two voice notes about that issue.
Good morning, Thulas, your team, and the SAFM listeners. Brad Thulas, let me support Hugo Bruce on this one. I think our coach got a point. Last time I checked, the PSL was ranking number 6 in the world, of which is on the top 10 in the world. So I think our league is the best league compared with that second league of theirs. I rather the TLP get another option.
In
that
South
one
Africa.
is not the best option at all.
Yeah.
Mr. Nomlala, Chabane, thank you.
Thank you for that, Mr. Nomlal.
Very good morning, Thulasizwe. It's Marumo here in Mahike. Well, I didn't. I want someone to send me that clip of. I didn't hear the Bafana coach Hugo Bruce saying the things I hear people are saying here. But if he said that, first I understood what he was like, what his complaint was about. And if he said that, that one I didn't hear, then clearly he's in for it. Because I would not know what he means by that. Someone came in as black and he wants to live as white. I don't know. Maybe he will explain further. Thank you very much, Marumo Mahike.
All right, Marumo, thank you for that. Let me go to a few of your calls. Zola in Bloemfontein, good morning. Zola?
Yebo, uyangizwa baba?
Yes,
Good
ngiyakuzwa.
morning.
Please go ahead.
Well, let me take this opportunity to thank you for the good give us. We
Thank you.
accommodate us, cater, and we are smart people, learning from his smart radio station, self, and KD, and all the presenters. Really, we have learned a lot.
We really appreciate that, yes.
Yeah. Lastly, I just want to say you must have a prosperous year. I won't say happy Christmas, Merry Christmas, because I don't know if we find it. But you, all that, as you say, no because of you. And you tolerate that. Sometimes you are in peace, you normalize it. That's not
Oh, we really appreciate that. Zola, thank you so much for that. It really is about that learning from each other, right? Sharpening each other's perspectives. We won't always get it right. I personally don't always get it right, but I appreciate it when you constructively correct me, and I do the same, hopefully, from time to time. So it really is about the friction that produces forward movement in the conversations that we have on the national agenda on a daily basis. And I assure you, all the presenters here on SAFM appreciate that kind of approach. Alba in Sky City, good morning.
Awusheni papa.
Hey, ifukini. Minjani papa?
Ah, it's okay.
Eh, nayi ifukini.
Yes.
Eh.
You know, Mr. Simelane, yesterday morning, on so I heard the patient speaking regarding the shortlisted for the replacement of. I think the most important now this is because the problem with the and everything. Now, according to me, the NPA is of an national. They don't meant to do what this person, this person. Now, was this and it was the then I start to think maybe this will easily hit when the NPA function out of because now it's a doing nothing. When they want to fit into that, but we think that plan is very so it's gonna
But Alba, grapple with this for me very quickly before you and I part ways. I hear the point you are making, and perhaps as it applies to other people. But don't we have a history with Menzi Simelane that is a unique history that applies uniquely to him? Whatever the other criticisms you have about KSEC and their approach to other candidates, but surely you can't ignore the fact that this man has occupied this position in the past, and it didn't end well. It ended in an inquiry into his fitness to hold office that also found that he was not fit to hold office.
That they should let him to his reference because yes, it's about I'm confused. Is it not?
Okay, I get you. All right, Alba, thank
Okay.
you for your engagement this morning. That's Alba
Thanks very
in
much.
Sky City, plugged in into the conversation around the selection of the next National Director of Public Prosecutions. That process is going to day 2 now. Let me play 2 or 3 of your voice notes, and let's see how many we can fit in before the talking point.
Hi, Chulas. Hoping you well. This is Daniel. Chulas, I don't agree with the statement that was made by the SG Mbalula, that the reason why the ANC did not do well in KZN just because of the leadership. Says that the leadership is inconsistent. That statement is wrong, right? At the same time, the president of this country, Mr. Ramaphosa, he actually admits that now the reason why they did not do well is because of the formation of the AMK party, and that's a fact. That's a fact, Tulas. Thanks.
All right, thank you for that. I've got to leave it there. Thank you for your time. Thank you for listening, as well as your robust engagement. We build each other on a daily basis. That's really what it's all about, nation building. The talking point here on SAFM is up next with Keti Mutlatlana after the news with N. Musa. I'm Thulasizwe Simelane. You've been briefed.
In our top stories, family of murdered Brakpan man demands justice and consultations on local election date underway. Good morning. The family of Emmanuel Mbense, who was killed allegedly by officials from the Ekurhuleni Metro Police, SAPS, and a private security company, says they've suffered secondary trauma. This after hearing at the Matlanga Commission of Inquiry revelations of torture and the dumping of his body in a dam. The deceased brother Nhlanhla Mbense says after more than 3 years of pleading with authorities for answers, the family learned of disturbing details.
For a long time, we lived with unanswered questions and not knowing how he died, what transpired exactly. And the truth only started to surface before the commission. It forced us to relive the horror of his final moments in public, surrounded by strangers. Receiving such devastating news at the same time with everyone else has been very painful. It has stripped away any chance of us to prepare ourselves emotionally, and we were re-traumatized as the details unfolded.
The parents of a 4-year-old girl from Eldorado Park in Johannesburg will be back in the Protea Magistrates Court in Soweto this morning. They are charged with the girl's murder in August this year. The little girl's father is facing charges including murder, rape, assault and child abuse, while the mother's charges include failure to report sexual offences against her child. The 4-year-old succumbed to wounds in hospital, sparking public outrage. Lerato Makola reports.
The 4-year-old girl was found unconscious in a shack with head injuries, bruises, and a swollen eye. After her father allegedly assaulted her, she later died in the hospital. The case against the parents prompted widespread condemnation, with the community of Eldorado Park staging protests outside court each time the pair appeared in court. The NPA waiting for further results before the Director of Public Prosecutions decides where the trial will be held.
Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs Minister Velenkosini Hlabisa says consultations are underway with the Electoral Commission on choosing the date for the 2026 local government elections. The current term will expire on the 1st of November next year. Hlabisa says the elections must therefore be held between November the 2nd next year and January the 30th of 2027. Municipal councils only serve for 5 years, and elections should then be held within 90 days of the end of that term. Hlabisa says it's difficult to find an appropriate date.
You will all agree, elections taking place in November has a great potential of disrupting examinations. Elections taking in December will be difficult. Elections taking place in January, political parties will become Father Christmas when they do door-to-door election. Now, it's a difficult time upon which a date must be considered. That is why I indicated all the departments involved with which we are doing the consultation to ensure that we arrive on a date that will not be a difficult one from any sector of our community.
Meanwhile, various political parties have been advised to consolidate their nomination and candidate lists by the end of June next year to ensure compliance. President Cyril Ramaphosa will proclaim the election date. The Commission's CEO, Simon Mabolo.
It is our sincere wish as the Commission
that the date, once determined, be announced without it being proclaimed, so that all stakeholders may have good opportunity to prepare themselves and not be taken by surprise at a point where it is officially proclaimed.
And finally, delegates of the ANC's Fifth National General Council have sought to refine the party's policies ahead of next year's local government elections. The four-day NGC ends today in Boksburg, east of Johannesburg. The NGC serves as a platform to assess the party's progress. Recapping the top story, the family of Emmanuel Mbenze, who was killed allegedly by officials from the Ekurhuleni Metro Police, SAPS, and a private security company, says they've suffered secondary trauma. This after hearing at the Matlanga Commission of Inquiry revelations of torture and the dumping of his body in a dam. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide.